With plenty of stars getting released from WWE in recent memory, it begs the question, where are they now? We will answer that in today's video. Before we get into the rest of the video, don't forget to press that like button and make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on. Starting off, we have Cameron Grimes, who was released from WWE in April of 2024. This was one of the more surprising departures from the company, as Grimes had a lot of potential, showed that on NXT, and he was drafted to SmackDown in 2023. He would then debut on the main roster in May, and he beat Baron Corbin in 6 seconds. Outside of the match with Corbin, he would defeat Ashante the Adonis in just over 2 minutes the following week, then had a couple dark matches where he would defeat Rick Boogs and Odyssey Jones. He would be involved in the United States Title Invitational Fatal 4-Way, where Rey Mysterio defeated him, LA Knight, and Sheamus. Had another dark match where he defeated Rick Boogs. Then he faced off against Austin Theory, where he lost in about 3 minutes. Then he took part in the SummerSlam Battle Royal, which was where he came up short. LA Knight eventually won that. He would proceed to have 4 more dark matches, 1 where he lost to Grayson Waller, 3 where he came out victorious, 2 wins against Odyssey Jones, 1 against Ashante the Adonis. Then he would have 2 matches on television where Austin Theory beat him in 3 minutes, and then the team of Theory and Waller defeated Grimes and Dragon Lee in 6 minutes. So on a few house shows, lost to Grayson Waller in 2 minutes and 42 seconds on SmackDown, and a couple more house shows. Went back to NXT for the North American title #1 contendership Fatal 4-Way, where he came up short. Wesley would eventually win that. Had 4 more live event appearances, 5 dark matches on SmackDown following that. Took part in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown on May 4th. He would lose to Braun Breaker in 1 minute and 21 seconds on the April 12th SmackDown. Then after that, it was done. He was gone. Since then, he has made appearances for a few different promotions: Elevation Pro Homecoming, BCW Chaos, WCPBTW, OTT, WXW, Rev Pro, DPW, and ALW. It has since been announced that he would make his debut for Major League Wrestling. That announcement was made on September 9th. He is once again going by Trevor Lee. It looks like he continues to wrestle. It remains to be seen what he does next. Another release during this time was Jinder Mahal. This was a bit of a mixed feeling, as Mahal had a bit of a resurgence. You'll remember that he ended up coming out and cutting a promo on television, a very anti-American promo, old school foreign heel type of deal, and The Rock came out, and the promo was really good. Then he would confront Seth Rollins, who's the World Heavyweight Champion at the time. That was on Raw, and they had a match for the title in January. Then he took part in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He would ultimately come up short, and we haven't seen Mahal in WWE since he would get released. So it was a bit surprising, given he was in this high-profile spot for just a short time with The Rock and had a world title match with Seth Rollins. And I can't stress enough that the promo was really good. He got a ton of heat with that. It was incredible. Following his departure from WWE, he's had a few different bookings for a variety of promotions: BLP, GCW, AAA. That was during Triple Mania, where he and Satnam Singh would win the World Tag Team title. Took part in Greektown in Toronto, was a part of the GCW Homecoming show, NCG, BLP again, and then ASW. He's gone by both Raj Desi and Raj Singh since his departure from the company, and continues to take bookings. The last one came earlier in the month, September 7th. It's unknown if he will end up signing with a major promotion or if he will continue to take independent bookings for the future. Moving on, we have another release that took place this year, and it was Gable Stephan. During the later stages of his WWE run, especially on NXT, he was not getting good reactions. He was definitely drawing the ire of the fans. They were booing him fairly intensely. That may have something to do with the accusations that were against him, or it could have just been because of his seemingly part-time status and his lack of improvement in the ring. Who knows? Maybe it's a combination of all those things. In late 2020, he had first made it known that he was interested in pursuing a career as a professional wrestler in WWE. He, of course, won the gold medal in men's freestyle wrestling at the Olympic Games in Tokyo. He had a total of 17 matches with WWE. He would have 12 on NXT and then 5 during SmackDown Dark matches, where he primarily faced Cedric Alexander and Cameron Grimes. This was a massive prospect in the eyes of many and to WWE, given his status as a great amateur wrestler and Olympic gold medalist. There were comparisons drawn to the likes of Kurt Angle, who was one of the best athletes to transition to pro wrestling and get almost all aspects of it so quickly, so naturally. When it comes to the reason for his release, Dave Meltzer said this on Wrestling Observer Radio. He said this in regards to the cuts as a whole, but specifically about Stevenson. All these cuts were done on the same day. A lot of people in the amateur world are going, oh my god, how horrible if they cut him 3 weeks ago. But they probably weren't thinking cuts 3 weeks ago. The reality is it's another one. His contract was a very big money contract and he wasn't cutting it. That's the thing. It's very, very hard. You're talking about a guy who from literally 7th grade on was an incredible athlete. This guy probably is the best heavyweight wrestler ever in the United States. The best wrestler, period, out of the state of Minnesota, and Minnesota has got a lot of great wrestlers. Since his departure from WWE, he has not taken part in a single pro wrestling match. He would go on to sign with the Buffalo Bills of the NFL in May of 2024, but would end up released in August before the start of the regular season. Now, you may think the NFL is out of the question for Stevenson, but you may be wrong. It's been recently reported, here's an article from NBC Sports, Stevenson, according to Mike Garofalo of the NFL Network, worked out for the Ravens. This article is from the 16th of September. There's no update at the time of recording this. It's also worth noting in regard to the NFL, and this article does mention it, so I'll read this. Stevenson's first preseason game with the Bills was the first football game he had ever played in at any level. Obviously, not many players get to the NFL without having played football before, but Stevenson is such a high-level athlete that it makes sense that the Ravens could see him as a player who might spend the season on the practice squad, with an eye toward developing into the kind of player who can make a 53-man roster in 2025. We'll see how that works out for Stevenson. Next up, we have Dijak, now going by Donovan Daack. He had started out in Chaotic Wrestling in 2013, was in Ring of Honor from 2014 to 2017, and then in January of 2017, WWE would end up pulling a contract offer for Dijak after there was a legal threat from Ring of Honor, who still had him under contract. He would eventually make his way to WWE and made numerous appearances on NXT. By 2020, he would be on the main roster. He would debut on Raw as a member of the Retribution faction under the name T-Bar. This turned out to be a massive failure. He'd go to SmackDown for a bit, and then by October of 2022, he was back on NXT, and this is where he would stay until he was let go from the company. This was a very interesting departure for this particular reason. He was a part of the WWE draft in 2024 this year. On night 2, he was sitting with all the NXT talent, and he was drafted to Raw in the supplemental draft. So everyone expected him to make his return to Raw, as one would. He would take part in a match on Speed, the WWE Twitter series, with matches under 3 minutes, lost to Xavier Woods for the Speed Championship #1 Contenders Tournament. That'd be his final match under WWE, and on June 27th, it was announced that WWE would not renew his contract. Obviously, Dijak was fairly frustrated over this situation, and fans fans were left very puzzled as to what took place, what was the reasoning. Sean Ross Sapp discussed the situation during a Q&A on Fightful Select. He said this about Dijak: "Wasn't thrilled from my understanding, but also knows that's not his role anymore and didn't have anything for him because he was off NXT. They probably called him up knowing that they were going to let him go and didn't want him featured heavily on NXT ahead of that." While there is a sense of reasoning here, there's logic to this. What doesn't make sense is if you didn't want him featured on NXT television ahead of his release, his contract not being renewed, why would you then go ahead and draft him to Raw? Something seems fishy here. It appears that something is amiss. We're not getting the full picture, at least from my perspective. I'm not sure how you all feel about this. It just seems so bizarre to have a guy featured on NXT television. Oh, well, we don't want to feature him on NXT before we let him go. Let's move him to Raw in the supplemental draft, and then we won't renew his contract. Really weird. Since his departure from WWE, he has taken part in numerous matches for independent promotions: Beyond American Rana 2024, Rise Rumble, Rev Pro, TTW, C4 Fighting Back 13, Limitless Vacation Land Cup 2024, and a few others. His last appearance was with PPW Wish Upon the Stars, where he defeated Ken Powers. This was September 15th. He would make an appearance at MLW Summer of the Beast, where he appeared during a match. He would attack the participants and said that he was here to stay in MLW. We'll see what he does next. And these were recently released wrestlers from WWE and where they are now. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.